Okay, hello and welcome to a demonstration of task 4.1p. Today we're going to be looking at Mongoose, which is a framework in the NPM ecosystem that helps us when dealing with MongoDB. I've installed MongoDB on my system. I'm using MongoDB Compass as a UI to have a look at my documents. We've also NPM installed and required the validator package, which helps us out with authentication. Here you can see we've connected to the local host, which connects us to our database, which I've called iTrust. Here we're defining our Mongoose schema. So things like first name, last name, email, everything correlates to this form here. And I've included some inbuilt validation and also some customized validation. An example of the customized validation that's on offer from this validate package. The validator, you pass in a value, you can check if it's an email. If it's not an email, you can throw an error here. Similarly, on the making sure that the passwords match, we can validate the value that's been passed in, and if using the validator, another validator method, if it doesn't equal, if these two values don't equal, so the value that password 2 is and this, meaning this object, this password value don't match, then we throw an error and say your passwords don't match. The rest is pretty much straightforward. It uses Mongoose's inbuilt validation. The only thing slightly different is this enum here. So for things like drop down, it will make sure that you have selected one of those appropriate values. And this is all server-side validation. So everything is required bar a few fields. And then we use this schema and we turn it into a model or a class using Mongoose. And I've called that user with a capital U. And then I create down here in our post request, I create a new instance of that user schema or class or object, and I pass in all of the fields from body parser. So we get the request body, the first name, request body, last name, so on and so forth. Once we've populated that new object, we're going to save, but we're also going to ask to catch any errors. If there's errors, it'll console.log them, and if there's no errors, then it should successfully save it to our database. So let's go ahead and demonstrate that. You can see here that I'm running, the server is running on port 8080 and iTrust DB is connected. Yes. And we'll refresh the form and we'll start to fill this out, and let's, I don't know, the user signing up is Peter Peterson. His email is Peter's email at an email address.com. And for the first time round, I'm going to intentionally make the passwords not match. So I'm just going to put password here, which is at least 8 characters, so it won't trigger that validation requirement. But I'll put password 123 in the retype password. The address line is required. The second line isn't. The city is. The state is. The zip code is not. However, we can chuck something in. The contact number is not. And also, I've made this checkbox that is required as well. So this should actually give us an error. So let's submit this as a post request, and that's exactly what we get here in the terminal. So if we scroll up, it says Peter Peterson, user validation failed, password 2, which is our retype passwords. Your passwords do not match. And the kind is a user-defined one, so what that's talking about is the fact that we have used to validate our own logic to check the validation with the help of the validator package. The types can also be under required and min length and things like that as well. So if we go back now, let's restart the server. So we haven't got an entry into the database. So it's kept most of those values for us. Thank you very much. So let's have a look. Let's make the passwords match now. So password 999 and password 999. Everything else is good. Let's click that. I've got another validation error. Passwords do not match. There must have been a mistake. Let's try again. So password, I'll be careful with my fingers, 999, password 999, sign it. Okay, it worked that time. There must have been a typo. So new user inserted successfully. Let's just double check that. So we'll go to MongoDB Compass and we should refresh, and we have another entry in there, as we can see, and his name is Peter Peterson. You'll notice that the one previously did not make it to the database because, or the previous two actually, because their passwords did not match. Here we have password 999 and password 999. They match. Here's another entry where the passwords match, and that's Sam Samuelson, which is before Peter Peterson. So we don't have duplicates, and this is an example of a successful server-side validation process. That is pretty much it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next task.